Hello and welcome back to the GCP-Mindset channel. Today we'll talk about consulting and we'll give some real-world success cases.
Can you share an example where a consulting team helped a sponsor avoid a major delay through strategic regulatory advice?
We see this a lot of times, especially in the medical device field, of course also in the IMP field, where the requirements are quite different. Let's start with the investigation of medicinal products or medicinal products in general. The development here requires strategic alignment across all three phases of the study, ensuring that the data generated in the phase 1 study enables an efficient phase 2 study, which quickly leads into a phase 3 study. So these elements, and whether you can combine certain studies and the regional selections that can really influence pricing and the timing of your trial startup and its conduct, those are really important features. The problems on the device side can sometimes be of very different nature, because here we often talk with relatively inexperienced small medical device startups whose devices are supposed to go to the market and be reimbursed there. And one key element for medical devices to get to the market is based on their labeling claims, which tie back into the performance and efficacy claims, and those directly influence the primary endpoints that you measure and the study design itself. Since medical devices can generally be put on the market either with no trials at all, if you already have a predecessor which you can refer to, or with only one trial compared to a multi-year development pipeline with drugs, speed is really of the essence. And our consultation, especially on the medical device side, often focuses exactly on that key element. How can we shape and change the labeling claim to support a more efficient market entry by reducing the burden on the clinical trial, on the evidence that is required to support the market entry, and therefore get to the market quickly and then expand on the labeling claim once the device is on the market. And here we consult a lot, and it can really make a difference between 20 and 200 patients for your clinical trial, whether you choose one or the other labeling claim for the same medical device. So it's really important to be careful, and I know it's a very dynamic time, especially for medical device startups, but this is really well invested time and effort to define the structure right at the beginning, generate the right data, and then have a much faster market entry.
How has practical consulting during country feasibility or site selection directly reduced study costs or timelines?
As an EU-based CRO, we understand that site feasibility and country feasibility is really important, and we cover a bunch of different countries, and they all have their different advantages and disadvantages, and a lot of them tie directly into regulatory startup timelines, recruitment potential, patient retention, and all of these factors, of course, ultimately also into budget. As a German headquartered CRO, I also very often don't recommend Germany for exactly those reasons. Regulatory submissions tend to take a little bit longer and have more questions. If you have a product that requires some form of radio imaging, you need to go to a special approval process, which can take a long time in addition to your general regular submission process. And on top of that, if you run into university clinics, you can add another 6 months for contracting after. If you compare all of that to, let's say, a quick startup for a phase 1 trial in, for example, the Netherlands, who have a little bit of an expedited program for a single country and especially phase 1 trials there, or in Poland or in Eastern Europe, you can really save 3, 4, 5 months in startup depending on your trial and the prerequisites that you meet. And that will already save you a lot of money. Now, looking at the trial itself, you also need a population that not only matches, but can also be retained and recruited into your clinical trial. And here also we have differences, cultural differences, willingness to participate in certain clinical trials, and they should all be considered, because you will lose a lot of time if you first go to the wrong country, then need to open a new one and enroll there. This will cost you easily a year, and in IMP trials, so in medicinal product related trials, this can easily amount to €1 million or more lost. So, with that in mind, choosing the right place to start off is crucial, and you should really put a lot of effort and emphasis on this stage early because it determines everything that follows after. And of course, a lot of money can also be saved that way.
What measurable outcomes came from implementing recommendations made during a feasibility or strategy workshop?
The benefits that can be gained from a workshop really depend on your trial structure. However, we have had many examples where that really helped kickstart the trial in the right direction. One of these examples is a trial in which it was very clearly understood that the way the patient population works, they don't migrate a lot and they are distributed over a large number of GPs, general practitioners, that are located around the cities that we were targeting. So for us, it was very clear that the strategy to enrolling patients is to leverage this pre-existing relationship between the sites, in this case the GPs, and the patients, rather than trying to enroll all of these sites and decentralizing the treatment of the patients, because that's going to be a significant hurdle to maintaining and ensuring quality within your clinical trial. So instead, we opened referral centers and we ensured that we embedded this idea of referral sites and providing them with compensation for the effort of referring a trial over to the main trial site within a certain city or multiple certain cities as one of the key elements to the recruitment strategy. And that really helped boost recruitment on its own. And it was complemented by a very targeted campaign using Facebook at the time to drive more patient interest and outreach also directly to individual trial sites. The strategies here differed and should also be reflected upon whether they should differ between countries. Not every solution is going to be applicable for every country. So, especially during the early phases of a trial, these recruitment workshops and ensuring that feasibility is meeting the patients where they are most comfortable at are really impactful. You can identify these by speaking with patient representatives themselves or by leveraging knowledge from prior clinical trials that can really influence the direction that you are taking your current project. And having a wider group with more diverse perspectives and insights into the patient's behavior themselves and how they would ideally want to be approached is a great asset to making that happen. And this can usually be channeled in such workshops at the beginning of the study.
Thanks for watching and see you next time on the GCP Mindset channel.